Welcome to Weekly Update, and this video is about how Week 1's games will impact your fantasy league. We are going to start off with our Detroit League, where we're projected to win in this upcoming week. Last week, we crushed it with a great starting lineup. Amon St. Brown and Puka Nacua both went off. We had 10 touchdowns. Our bench also did pretty well. Keenan Allen, great again. He might be maybe a start over DK Metcalf. But what we're doing here is we're looking at this and seeing how it impacts your fantasy league. So Amon St. Brown and Puka Nacua both went off, had great games. Devontae Williams, 25 points again. Lamar, another great game. Matt Prater, he's going to be a good replacement kicker for the Bills. Baker Mayfield, okay. Derrick Henry flopped. JSN did okay. I believe he's gotten the exact same amount of points. No, he hasn't. But he's gotten pretty close to the exact same amount in consecutive weeks. Brock Bowers, he didn't do that great. Garrett Wilson, meh. Jerry Judy, meh. The Seahawks defense and Brandon Aubrey. Brandon Aubrey, you're going to see him in a lot of these leagues. He had 23 fantasy points. And we'll move on to our next league, which we lost last week by quite a bit. Evan Engram, not a good week yet again. Derrick Henry, not great. I mean, I don't know what else there is to say. Javonte Williams is probably a start over DJ Moore next week, even though he only got 6 in week 1. I think that this game against Chicago really proves his potential. We had our opponent having an empty bench slot, but Zay Flowers did well again. Malik Neighbors, amazing, and those two really helped his team quite a bit. Moving on to our third league before we jump into everyone else. We were projected to lose this week, but last week, which is what we're focusing on, I mean, it wasn't great. We got outscored at almost every position. Amon St. Brown got canceled out by Malik Neighbors. And then the Josh Allen and Derrick Henry just had very bad games. Now we'll move on to everybody else. Daniel Jones might be one who we could look at, where adding him could be something interesting. Adding him over a guy like Jake Tungus, who we were adding for a week. Just do this quickly. But him at quarterback, yes. At running back, not really many interests, except for Quinshon Judkins to see if he emerges as the RB1. Jerome Ford, just want to keep an eye on that backfield. But Dylan Sampson, is also available. He's just projected for quite a bit less. Wide receivers, Keyshawn Buett is probably the best receiver, but I think we could add him for somebody on our team like Jordan Mason if he starts to fall off in the upcoming weeks. But at tight end, Juwan Johnson, Harold Fannin, Smith, and Ertz still on top. People adding Brenton Strange, even though he hasn't done that great. Defenses, this is where you really gotta focus on it. But these defenses at the top are probably the ones that are going to do the best by far. And kickers, these guys. But importantly, we got to focus on last week. Last week, at quarterback, we had Russell Wilson, Daniel Jones, Mac Jones, Spencer Rattler, and Bryce Young all break 20 points. Daniel Jones is the only one who has broken 20 points in each of the last 2 weeks, so he's someone to keep an eye on. But Aaron Rodgers fell off, Michael Penix fell off. At running backs, got to keep an eye on that Browns backfield, so we're going to leave those guys in our queue. At wide receiver, Troy Franklin, Hunter Renfrow, Dyami Brown. But you can see, none of these guys had a great week one. So it's not that much of a deal for them to have a really good week two. DeAndre Hopkins is the only one who's averaged a solid amount of points. And we'll keep Keyshawn Barrett in our queue just to keep an eye on him. Tight ends, you got Zach Ertz, Juwan Johnson, Harold Fannin. And those three are the important ones, along with Jonnu Smith, who I already have queued. Defenses, last week, Falcons, Seahawks, Chargers. Kickers, Spencer Schrader and Joey Sly. Both went off. Spencer Schrader, 16 and 18. Joey Sly, 15 and 17. Parker Romo got nothing, and then he came off the bench and got 18. Tyler Loop settling into that 12 to 13 point range. But that's about it for how this week's games impacted your fantasy league. Real quick, I'm going to show you who I have in my queue here. I'm going to delete any unnecessary ones, like Calvin Austin and Noah Fant. But this is my queue. Jonnu Smith, Keyshawn Barrett, Harold Fannin, Quinshad Judkins, Jerome Ford, Dylan Sampson, DeAndre Hopkins, Juwan Johnson, Joey Sly, Spencer Schrader, Zach Ertz, Daniel Jones. You should consider adding these guys to your fantasy team because they're all going to be good options in the weeks to come, where they all have a great chance, at least. All right, that's about it. But before I go, I'm going to ask you to please like and subscribe. It helps out the channel a lot, and it'll give you more great videos like these. Thank you.